Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. This is an Educated Sports Talk, presenting college casual football talk. Got my man B-Dub, Brian Wilkinson back in the building. Hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. That's why we had a lot of things going on for the weekend, so we didn't have our Week 12 recap. We do apologize about that. But, hey, guess what? Week 12 don't matter now because Week 13 was crazy. We got a Week 14 preview as well. Let's just get down to it, man. Ohio State versus Michigan and the horseshoe, and this was the most hyped up, anticipated Big Ten game.
It was the big game of the week.
Yeah, and for a second, first quarter, first half, it started off like it'd be a nice game, championship game. It might go down to the wire, but Ohio State shellacks Michigan 62-39. I could not believe that score. I had Ohio State winning, but for Michigan and that vaunted defense that we heard about,
you gotta be disappointed.
Yeah, that was bad, man. So this right here, it sparks up a conversation about Ohio State now. We saw in 2015 how they won at the end to put themselves into the top four the first year of the college football playoff. Now they might be in a similar situation that they faced Northwestern for Big Ten Championship. We'll get to the championship games in a minute, but this right here, one, how does it affect Michigan? And then we'll talk about what it does for Ohio State as well.
Really, really sad. Unfortunate for John Harbaugh. And as good as they look this year, that game could cost him his job still. Because he hasn't won an Ohio State game for his entire tenure. This man has not beaten Ohio State, and that's the reason they hired him. That's the reason you were hired onto this program, and you haven't done it in 4 years. So right there, that one game could lose, especially when you're talking about this Michigan defense and John Harbaugh, and that's the identity of this team. They got a new quarterback, and they put up some points this year, but don't be fooled. The identity of this squad is defense first, and they gave up 62 to a spotty Ohio State team at best.
When I heard they hadn't beat Ohio State since 2004, something like that, I was like, or they haven't won in Ohio State since 2004. I was like, wow, I didn't think that. That was crazy. That's a crazy number. But Ohio State propels themselves obviously with a huge win, but Michigan, I mean, that was just bad play.
I still see Michigan playing in the New Year's Day Bowl.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. But that wasn't at 10-1 for your playoff. You weren't thinking New Year's Bowl. You were thinking college football playoff. Yeah. You win this game, and you're that much closer. Yeah. You know, if you depend on if you beat Northwestern or not. But tough loss, Michigan. We'll talk about the Week 14 standings, where everyone's at now, in just a few minutes. Let's talk about Oklahoma versus West Virginia. A crazy shootout game. Once again, it's the Big 12. We know about that. Oklahoma comes out a victor 59-56 in another shootout. I want to know from you, does that hurt Oklahoma's chances by game after game, giving up big yardage, big points to whoever they're playing?
I don't necessarily think that it does. I think defense is a big component. It's half of the game. Mm-hmm. It's a big component. The committee does look at the teams by how they perform statistically on each side of the ball. But at the end of the day, as long as Oklahoma's winning games, I don't think, as long as there is a W in the column, I don't think that the committee really cares too much.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is really the team from the Big 12 that they look. There's pretty much the only team from the Big 12 that the committee looks at.
Yeah.
So as long as they're on the positive side of all these outcomes, I think Oklahoma's fine.
Yeah, I think it slightly hurts them. It depends on a lot of factors got to go into them not getting into it, not getting into the playoffs. But I do think that if they continue to give a big yardage, big points to a certain team, and the rest of the teams that's in the bubble for the number 4 seed play marginal good games and whatever, I think that kind of hurts Oklahoma in my opinion.
But wouldn't you love to see this Oklahoma offense play this new Alabama offense?
You would, but at the same time, it would just punch you in the mouth. We saw what happened with Oklahoma and Georgia. It was a great game.
It was.
But 54-48 in overtime, I think that this Oklahoma team in my opinion, isn't as good as Oklahoma team last year. That's just my opinion. I mean, you quarterbacks similar, but I get it. The defense was a lot better last year.
You do have a feeling the defense was better last year.
And this year it's just like, man, if they play Bama could put up 70, I think, if on that just by themselves. But people pay to see offense these days anyway, so I mean, we have high ratings, I'll tell you that. The one game I'm glad to see a team take a loss was Washington State. Washington State at the time was ranked 8, and they had they're
an underdog. Come on, man.
Yeah, I usually do, but I'm like, I don't want to see an underdog who I know is gonna go in the playoffs and get shellacked by anybody. I don't want to see that. So I'm glad to see Washington State. Sorry, all Cougar fans, Wazoo fans, but Washington versus Washington State for the. What's that called again?
Apple Cup.
Apple Cup. I'm about to see Red Cup.
It's the Apple Cup.
It's the Apple
Washington
Cup.
Apple.
Yeah,
man, come on.
I'm sorry, man, but if you like snow weather games, it was the one for you.
Great.
They maintained it the first, second quarter, but that third quarter, snow came down. It was crazy. It was a hard-hitting matchup. We talked about it earlier. It just didn't suit Washington State's style of offense at all.
State at all.
But I'm disappointed. Probably my most disappointing team is Washington. This team had the ability to win all their games this year, and they did not. With 3 losses, they disappointed me. Their quarterback never been a Jake Browning guy at all, but it's glad to see. I'm glad to see if Washington can play their max level, 28-15 over Washington State in the snow. I loved it. It was good. It was a good game for Husky fans, but kind of like too little, too late.
Yeah.
Well, Notre Dame squeaks by USC. So that means they have basically clinched their playoff spot.
Ticket punch,
They're ticket punch, and they are undefeated with no championship game, but they're going in because they're undefeated by beating the USC 24-17. Tell me how you feel about Notre Dame being in the playoffs.
I am excited, first of all. I love having Notre Dame as a non-affiliated school in a playoff because it makes a great case to have more playoff spots. Like, give me Notre Dame, give me Georgia, give me Oklahoma, put them all together. I want to watch all these games. Like, I want to watch Notre Dame play Oklahoma, or I want to watch Clemson play Ohio State or something in the first round. Something. Give us more games. I just want more games at the end of the season. So I love Notre Dame being in. They're undefeated, so I like undefeated teams being in. I've bashed their schedule all year long. Notwithstanding the schedule, you want to see undefeated teams at the end of the season playing for the big prize.
Yeah.
Because that's what they tell you. The kids don't make the schedule. Just you got to go out and you got to win all your games, and that's what they did.
A famous Bill Parcells always said, "You are what your record is." They're 11-0, I think, or 10-0, something like that. I believe 11-0. We're gonna say 11-0 for 11-0's sake, but we're gonna say 11-0, and I think that it speaks for itself. 11 wins, no losses. No matter how you got those wins, you got them. But it always reminds me of that Notre Dame team when they got slapped by Alabama with Manti Te'o over there, him and his ex-girlfriend, the invisible girl, all that stuff. And Notre Dame was squeaking out these tough, grinding out defensive games, 17-14 and winning, 24-20 and just tough games. And I was like, that's not going to sit well.
That's not gonna work in this time.
Yeah, and obviously we saw Bama, because you got Bama, Clemson, for sure. You're going to face one of those guys, and you got to put up points against those guys. Mm-hmm. And I like Notre Dame for who they are. And I think Book, the quarterback, is doing an excellent job for them as well. He's making the right decisions and turnover-free outside of that Syracuse game in that weird first quarter or 2 quarters, whatever. He's been playing very well, so... Hey, you are what your record is. Yeah. They're undefeated, and they're in. They punched their ticket in. They're the first team to literally punch their ticket in.
Wait, let me see. I'm going to tell you something. Highest scoring game this week, and it was not in the Big 12. Can you guess? Highest scoring game of the week in the SEC. How many times are you going to hear that phrase?
The highest scoring game in FBS history. Total points combined
in the SEC.
SEC, that is crazy. We got LSU versus Texas A&M, and not 1, not 2, 7 overtimes. It went to get a decisive victory, and I don't know what to. I'm curious to see what you got to say about this because that was unheard of. I changed the channel. I started watching the second overtime. I was like, all right. First of all, it's 2 teams I can care less about because none of them are going to the playoffs or whatever. I turned it off. I stopped watching it. I literally started playing video games. I wake up the next morning. Did you see the 7 overtime? I was like, 7 overtimes? I looked at 74-72 Texas A&M with a huge victory for Jimbo Fisher.
Absolutely.
But there was controversy. We're from Louisiana, so we know about the controversy. We heard about the referees doing all kind of crazy things in that game. But outside of that, you still got to play defense. You still got to play game. 74-72. Tell me how you feel about that game, man, and what happened.
Small flaw in the overtime system. There is no such thing as a good overtime system, but this is kind of the problem with the NCAA's overtime system. Sometimes it just don't end.
Yeah.
Sometimes teams just get tired and they're sloppy and they keep tying because they can't play right anymore because it's been 5 hours and they're done. But this is really, I'm not disappointed. This is really, number one, this is always a trap game.
Yeah.
Texas A&M plays hard. They play Bama hard. They beat Kentucky. They play Georgia or Auburn hard. They play hard.
They played Bama tough. Texas A&M, to be honest.
This is sort of the LSU team that I was expecting to see coming into the season. A team that had good potential, but just couldn't quite grasp it. You were thinking more within the realm of like maybe a 7-5 kind of squad, which is what this kind of game, would give you the idea of a team being where you're going to 7 overtimes. But LSU comes out 9-3. They're going to finish in the top 10. We'll get to that in just a second. So all in all, it was a very positive showing for next season.
Yeah.
And for growth for the team moving forward for both squads.
Well, yeah, there you go. I'm not a big fan of overtime system as well, but like you said, the overtime system is perfect. Start from 25 yards. I'm more of a start from the 50. And, the 25-yard line is like, oh my God. But at the same time, that's why they do the 2-point conversions after the second touchdown. And it's like when one made it, the other one made it.
Yeah.
If one missed it, the other one missed it. Like someone make a 2-point. It finally happened in the 7th overtime where Texas A&M converted their 2-point conversion to win the game. But you never expected that from an SEC squad. No. But then again, Texas A&M is that one SEC squad that doesn't really play great defense but can score a lot.
Yeah.
They were from the Big 12 prior, so they came with a Big 12 mindset. So I do understand why Texas A&M was involved. Now, LSU being involved was like the head scratcher.
That's crazy.
I mean, you're one of the top defenses in the nation, and you can't stop them one time from either scoring or getting a field goal or whatever. You can't stop them. And I was kind of, Ben Burrow, he ran the ball like 50 times in that game.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Like, you waited this long to finally start running them? I mean, I don't know how many yards he got, but it's like every other play he was running the ball, quarterback keeping it running to the left or running to the right. And I guess they said, hey, pretty much our last real game, let's just go balls to the wall, man. And Burrow, I swear he ran like 50 times. It felt like it, man. But stunning, I guess I can call it upset. I'm going to call it upset, Texas A&M. Yeah. It's in Texas A&M, but you figured it would be a close game because what it is. So I enjoyed it. It made history, and it's an SEC, so sorry, Big 12. There's a new sheriff in town when it comes to offense, baby. But that was basically our wrap-up for Week 13. We're going to break down the top 12 now. Right now, the committee has it. Going number 12, Penn State. They're in after a good showing against Maryland, 38-3. So you just figure, man, if Penn State doesn't lose against Ohio State in a close matchup, lose against Michigan. They got blown out by Michigan, actually.
Yeah.
But things could have been a little different for Penn State. Washington goes to number 11 now. LSU drops to 10. Now, hey, you see that? That's good. Florida at 9. Yeah. I guess just because they beat LSU there at 9.
I assume.
But I'm like, I
don't see any other
Florida, I would have put maybe, I like Washington's victory against Washington State more than I like Florida's victory against. I would
have kept Washington State at number 9 even over putting Florida in the top 10.
Yeah, because Washington State's a 13, matter of fact. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the environment, it was tough. It's a snow game, and you can't predict that. UCF, let's talk about UCF number 8. Mckenzie Milton, he is. I don't know if he tore his ACL or broke a leg or something. It was bad. But one that hurts not only the program, but it hurts all outside Power 5 teams. They're rooting for this UCF team to make noise. Now, he'll be back next year. They said clear the coach said he'll be back for preseason, whatever, training camp, and you hope that he comes back at the same level he left off at. Tough to watch him go down because all the hopes of outside Power 5 teams went crashing down, but they still got a victory over South Florida 30-10. They will play in the
New Year's Bowl.
They will play in the New Year's Bowl if they defeat Memphis they'll be there. But I think they'll still be in it regardless because I think they have the best record.
They will. Yeah, they will be the best. They will be the best. For anybody that's not aware, the secondary group of conferences called the Group of Five. The team with the best record out of the Group of Five is guaranteed a spot in a New Year's Day bowl. So UCF will most likely be in that bowl. And
they faced basically the highest team that's not in a major bowl game.
Yeah.
I can't explain it right now. I gotta go on like ESPN or something to look at how they do that, or just Google it. But so we had UCF number 8. Then Michigan, after that snacking they took, they only dropped about 4 spots?
3 spots.
3 spots.
They were number
from
4.
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
At 7, Ohio State at 6, Oklahoma at 5, Georgia's at 4 now. Georgia leapfrogs at 4, Notre Dame 3, Clemson 2, and Alabama is still number 1 all day, every day, pretty much. I saw this, and I was like, man, could you imagine if this was 8 teams in the playoffs? Look at what we have. Just look at it from this. You would have, just say UCF came in there healthy, you have UCF number 8 versus Bama. That means you can get rid of all that noise right now in one game. All that outside look. One game you get rid of it, like or either it's gonna be true or not true.
Yeah.
And they're facing Bama. We want Bama. They said it last year. Bring it on. And you'd have had 8 versus 1, UCF versus Bama. You'd have had number 7 Michigan versus number 2 Clemson. That would be a good one. You would have number 6 Ohio State versus number 3 Notre Dame. Yeah, number 5 Oklahoma versus number 4 Georgia. That'd have been exciting. Like that right there gets me on edge. Like, come on, 8 playoffs, bring it on. But anyways, let's go to our Week 14 preview. Just think about that. Championship weekend. Last week we had what was it, rivalry weekend? What they call it? Yeah, and then Week 14 is championship weekend, and we got some good ones. The main one obviously is in the SEC. Number 1 Alabama versus number 4 Georgia. Who you got going on in that game? What's going to happen, man? I want to hear your thoughts, brother.
I've got Alabama rolling in this one pretty easily. I do think Georgia comes to play. I just think that it's one of those games where you're going to look at it and Bama's going to build like a 2-touchdown lead, and then you'll kind of see that 2-touchdown lead just follow. Georgia will score, Alabama will score, and it's going to be Georgia's going to just be not quite there. The problem with this Georgia team is that I don't think their running backs are as reliable as they were last year. They've had some key fumbles, particularly in that LSU game. Without that fumble in the first quarter of that LSU game, Georgia probably comes into this game at number 2, because there's no reason for them to. They haven't lost a single other game.
Yeah.
That's really it. Right. So, and the running backs were really what propelled them in that national championship game last season, and I just don't think these two guys are quite that level.
It's tough replacing Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel. It's just tough to replace those two guys. They were excellent. They complemented each other very well last year, which propelled them to go to the national championship game against Alabama. But I'm with you. I'm going with Bama. I'm going with a closer game, though. I think Bama wins, which is going to be like the worst case scenario for Georgia fans trying to get in there. A tough loss, close loss against Bama, because then they don't care. You got 2 losses and you're out, and then Bama's in there at number 1. So that's tough. But Georgia's in a win-and-end situation. And shut up, Bama. Bama's kind of like, even if we lose,
we're probably
so you're wondering if they'll take it very seriously. But Nick Saban's gonna.
He will.
He will take it seriously and have those guys ready. So
he doesn't know how to not be serious.
Yeah, right. You're right. Another big game is in the Big 12, Oklahoma versus Texas, the rematch. The only team to beat Oklahoma so far this year is Texas. How do you got that game going on, man? And what does Oklahoma need to do to seal their fate for the playoffs? Because right now they're number 5.
To really solidify a bid for number 4, they need to put Texas in the dirt. They need to absolutely, I'm talking about 4 touchdowns. Put Texas away, put them away early, finish this game out before the half.
There you go. Yeah.
And you're in. Notwithstanding if Georgia managed to beat Alabama. If Georgia managed to beat Alabama, I don't think anybody else gets in.
Right.
But we both have Georgia losing that game. So in that scenario, Oklahoma put Texas away and you're in. I don't see that happening. I see a much closer game here, especially given the way that these two teams played at the midway point in the season in the Red River rivalry game, because Texas kind of had control of that game, and then Oklahoma tried to take it back, and they couldn't quite get there. So I see another back-and-forth type of adventure going on here, but I do have Oklahoma coming on top of this one.
I got Oklahoma winning 44-38. another close game. But at the same time, that score kind of scares me if you're an Oklahoma fan. That means you give another almost 40-point game to somebody. So I'm going Oklahoma win this game, but I don't know about their position in the playoffs with that win. Because, like you said, in order to get them, they got to pound them in the beginning. And with that defense, I just don't see it happening. And this Texas squad, they got a chance for the Big 12 championship.
They do.
And Herman's only second year in the Big 12, so, he's pumped, they're pumped, and they already beat him one time. They say, you know what?
Let's do it
we
again.
can beat him again. And Herman wants this because that would be a great recruiting tool.
It would.
We didn't beat Oklahoma once. We beat them twice. So, so that'll be great, man. So I'm excited for this game for sure. Washington versus Utah. We're not going to talk long here. The Pac-12 has been very disappointing all year. Like I said, the whole entire conference has been disappointing.
Don't be surprised if Utah wins that game.
I won't be surprised at one bit. I like Utah. I like their style of play. Matter of fact, I had Washington winning barely. And I got like a 21-20 kind of game, something weird like that. I got Washington winning, but it doesn't matter what at all. But the big game that really matters, Ohio State versus Northwestern, and it's number 6 Ohio State versus 21 Northwestern for the Big Ten championship. And here we go. This is the one team that people are scared of. I want to ask you, what does Ohio State need to do to get inside? And I know it's kind of obvious, but what do they need to do besides win to get in? Because you got to leapfrog Georgia.
It's the same answer. You got to
pound them.
Put Northwestern away handily, and you're looking for the one thing I will say is that you need, if you're Ohio State and you want to get in, you need that close game in the Big 12 championship. You need that close game. You need Oklahoma to win by like a touchdown, and you need to absolutely destroy Northwestern or Texas to win. Either one of those two outcomes, if it's close and Oklahoma wins or Texas wins and Ohio State absolutely dismantles Northwestern, then they're in. Outside of that, I don't see another scenario.
I got Ohio State blasting Northwestern. I think they're going to come out to play in that dome in Indianapolis, and I think they're going to blast them like they did against look, one thing we can always know, Ohio State offense, we see over the last month now, they've been scoring crazy points. Outside the one devastating loss to Purdue, but we all know Purdue was heckle and jive, basically, in the Big Ten. But Ohio State has been scoring crazy points over the last month. I think they keep the ball rolling. I think they destroyed Northwestern. And now you got something talking with the committee because you don't know. I mean, if Ohio State wins, Oklahoma wins barely, and Georgia loses against Bama. Now you got to talk between Ohio State and Oklahoma. And who do you want going in? That hot team that's blowing people out, or that team is that's winning but winning close by big points. So it's going to be interesting. So we're going to pretty much end this show talking about our top 4. Who do you think after this week 14, when it's all said and done, B-Dub, who do you have in the top 4 that's going to be in the playoff run?
I've given you 2 answers already. I've got Alabama going to beat Georgia. So in that scenario, Alabama is the king, number 1. They've been number 1 all season long. That has no reason to change that. And also I got Oklahoma winning a tight one against Texas. But I also have Ohio State winning a really tight one against Northwestern, which doesn't look very good. So I've got Oklahoma at number 4, so that's my game 1. Alabama versus Oklahoma, game 1. In the second seed, I'm going to go Clemson. Clemson rolling over Pitt in an ACC championship game, no doubt. And then Notre Dame has already punched their ticket in at undefeated at number 3. So Clemson, Notre Dame, and then Bama, Oklahoma for me.
You know what? Those are good picks. But my top 4, we discussed it earlier, is totally not different, but it's weird. Here we go. We got Bama number 1, obviously. Got Clemson at number 2, obviously. Now we get to the nitpicky. Notre Dame is in. Yes, they are in. But they are not number 3. They are number 4. They're number 4. And here's why. In my opinion, I think Ohio State blasts Northwestern. You got Georgia with a loss to Alabama. You got Oklahoma with a close win, in my opinion, to Texas. They look at Ohio State. They say, you know what? They just blasted Michigan, that vaunted defense they were talking about outside. They were like Alabama's defense. And then they destroyed Northwestern, I think, which they will do. I think they'll put up close to 50 on Northwestern. I got Ohio State not only getting in, but going in number 3. So my match will be Bama versus Notre Dame. and then the Clemson versus Ohio State. And here's how I look at it. Before people say, well, why are you dropping Notre Dame? Think about this. The committee's looking at this and like, man, Bama versus Notre Dame for the championship? It doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel good because we all know the outcome of it. It's an easy outcome. Let's go ahead and put Bama, Notre Dame in the first round because, in my opinion, I think the committee's going to say, if Ohio State destroys Northwestern, like I think they will, they're going to say Ohio State's better than Notre Dame. They're just better at this time. And I think that Ohio State will leapfrog Notre Dame, although they're undefeated. But it's like, you're in the playoffs, so just shut up. You're good. You're in the playoffs. Just win. So I think Ohio State number 3 versus Clemson. That'll be a good matchup in my opinion. And then you can kind of get rid of Notre Dame easily against Bama, and get Notre Dame, because I don't want to see Notre Dame in no one's championship either against Clemson or Bama. I don't want to see it because Notre Dame would get plummeted by both squads. So I think they put Bama and Notre Dame first round, Clemson and Ohio State in the second round. I got Ohio State going in. You got Oklahoma going in. We got Georgia not going in at all. We got Georgia losing, but Georgia still has a chance. They're winning and they're in. And in my opinion, they might be the second best team in the league, but the number 1 team is still in your same conference. Yeah. Now, before we wrap up, a what-if scenario. What if Bama does lose?
If Alabama does lose, I think they go in at... You know what? I will give you that one. If Alabama loses, they go in at number 3, and Notre Dame stays at number 4. So you get Bama, or you get Georgia and Notre Dame in the first round, and you get Bama Clemson in the first round.
I'm with you on that. If Bama does somehow lose against Georgia, Georgia obviously is going to be the number 2 seed. The number 1 seed most likely. Clemson's 2, depending on how they look at it against Clemson, against Pitt. But I'll go with Georgia 1, Clemson 2, Bama at 3. You get Bama versus Clemson, Georgia versus Notre Dame. I think because those 3 squads are clearly better than Notre Dame, and the committee's going to find it out. I think when it's all said and done, Notre Dame's going to be at number 4, unless if Oklahoma gets in, then Notre Dame stays at 3. But if anybody else gets in, I think that, I got a feeling Ohio State's going to destroy Northwestern. But if they don't, if Ohio State has a regular game against Northwestern and barely wins, say they win 28-17, something like that, they're not getting in. They'll put Oklahoma in. But Ohio State has to have a crazy, massive destruction type of day, man. So, that being said, man, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. We're excited for it. So this is our Week 13 recap, Week 14 preview for Brian Wilkinson, B-Dub. I'm Carlos Clayton. This is Uneducated Sports Talk, presenting college casual football talk. Sports fans, you guys know what time it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace. See y'all at the championship weekend.